Let property disclosure. In this video, we'll talk about let property campaign. If you want to know more about let property campaign or let property disclosure, then please watch this video. Hi, this is Gagan from One-to-One Accountants. My mission is to empower individuals and businesses with knowledge and service to help them achieve their financial goals. Today, we'll talk about let property disclosure or let property campaign. So what is let property campaign? Any individual who has UK property and want to disclose the rental income to HMRC because they have not disclosed in the past, under this campaign they can come forward and do the disclosures and bring their tax affairs up to date. In this video, we'll talk about following points and try to understand in detail what is let property disclosure. We'll talk about what is let property disclosure, who can disclose, why I got a letter, what is prompted or unprompted disclosure, how many years we need to go back and disclose, process of disclosure, what are penalties, and suspension of penalties. We'll discuss all these points in this video step by step, so you should have a fair knowledge of what is let property disclosure and how to deal with it. Who can disclose? This is a very important question to understand. An individual who owns a UK residential property can disclose. So only residential properties can be disclosed through the let property campaign. If you have any residential property or any other rental income, that can be disclosed via other disclosures. So a residential landlord with a single property or multiple properties can disclose. Specialist landlord like a student accommodation or a HMO or bedsits can also disclose through this let property disclosure. Landlord with holiday letting can also disclose. If any individual is renting a room in his own house or a private residence and earning a rent more than a threshold of rent a room relief scheme, can also disclose through this disclosure. A non-residential landlord, an individual who is living overseas but he has a UK rental property and getting rent, they can also disclose through this scheme. A very common question asked by a client is, why I have got a letter from HMRC? So the reason being you got a letter is because HMRC has an information that you are receiving rent or you are a landlord. That's why you got a letter. Now another question is arise, how HMRC know that I am getting a rental income or I am a landlord? HMRC get information from various sources. I'll list few of them, but there are many other sources. HMRC get information from a tenant deposit protection scheme department. That department is sharing data with HMRC that who are the landlord and what deposit they are holding on behalf of the landlord. Letting agent is also reporting quarterly to HMRC to which landlord they are paying rent on a monthly basis. So letting agents some registered agents are also complied by law to report. Council, we know that council is a very big department. Council tax department is also sharing information. Voting department who hold voters registers also sharing information who lives into the property. Utilities companies are also sharing data with HMRC. Likewise, land registry is also sharing data with HMRC. So all these departments are sharing data with HMRC, and HMRC got a very complex IT system where they receive an information and the system get flagged, and on that basis they issue a letter which is also called a nudge letter. So what are the types of disclosure? Let's understand the types of disclosure. There are two types of disclosure. One is prompted. So let's understand what prompted is. If you have received a letter from HMRC, that's also called a nudge letter, then you are classed as prompted. HMRC has given you a prompt through the letter, so you are classed as prompted. Another type is unprompted. Unprompted means that you want to come forward voluntarily and disclose the information to HMRC and want to bring your tax affairs up to date. Then that voluntary coming forward is called as unprompted. and there are separate set of penalties applied to this prompted and unprompted. If it's prompted, the penalty applied are higher. If it is unprompted, the penalty applied are a bit lower. We will discuss the penalty later in this video. Now another question client generally asks is how many years to disclose. So again, this depends on a different metrics. So first one is failure to notify. So let's understand what failure to notify means. Failure to notify means that if you have failed to notify HMRC that you have an income. For example, you are an employed individual and you become an accidental landlord, or somehow you become a landlord and forgot to disclose or register yourself with HMRC as a landlord, or register yourself with HMRC for filing a tax return so you can declare rental income. That means you failed to notify. So if you have not registered for yourself for self-assessment because of the rental income you are having, that means you have failed to notify. You come under failed to notify. So if you are classed at failed to notify, then you have to go back 20 years or since when the income started. You have to go back 20 years and disclose your rental income. So that means failure to notify. Another one is inaccuracies. Under inaccuracies, again there are two categories. One is reasonable care and another one is carelessness. So under reasonable care, it's very hard to demonstrate that you have taken a reasonable care, still you made an inaccuracy. So inaccuracy means that you are filing a tax return but you have omitted or you have inaccurately reported your rental income. So that classed as inaccuracies, that you are filing a tax return but the figures in the tax return are not correct, or you have totally omitted the rental income. But if you have taken a reasonable care while doing a self-assessment, then you have to go back 4 years, but which is very hard to demonstrate that you have taken a reasonable care. If you have taken a reasonable care, then how you have omitted the rental income altogether. And if you're careless, then you have to go back 6 years. So careless means that you've been careless and the mistake has happened carelessly, and because of the carelessness, then you have to go back 6 years and disclose the rental income. Now let's talk about the process of disclosure. Generally client asks, so what is the process, how we will handle this and what it involves? It's a very simple process. It's a few step process. I'll try to explain in a very simple way. So first, if you have received a nudge letter, then you have to reply back to the nudge letter, and then you have to file a notice of intent. Notice of intent is an application form online on HMRC website where you go and register yourself and then notify HMRC that you want to come forward and want to declare the information to HMRC. If you want to start voluntary or as an unprompted, then the first step will be notice of intent. You file notice of intent and then you start declaring the information. So once you file notice of intent, then HMRC will send you a letter with your payment reference details and a case reference number. Then from that letter date, they will give you 90 days to prepare, file and pay. So 90 days you have to prepare your tax calculation year by year and identify the potential loss revenue, and on that you have to calculate the tax, whatever tax is due. Then you have to calculate the interest on the tax, and you have to also calculate the penalty, what penalty you have to apply. So you have to prepare everything, and then you have to complete that into a disclosure form. Then you have to file a complete disclosure form which will include all this information with all your calculations and all your rental, how you have arrived at rental profits. To watch what expenses you can set off against your rental income, watch my other video which I've created, and the heading is buy-to-let expenses. So if you go to my channel and look the video buy-to-let expenses or buy-to-let rental income, then you will know what expenses you can claim under the buy-to-let UK properties. So you have to calculate a rental profit first, then you have to calculate a tax, then you have to calculate a interest and penalty, and then you have to complete a full disclosure form online or via post and send to HMRC, and send the supporting documents as well with the disclosure. Once and at the same time, whatever interest, tax and penalty you have calculated, or the total liability need to be paid to HMRC as well. So once HMRC receive your full information and the tax liability, then HMRC review your case. HMRC will review your case, and then if they have any questions, they will correspond either with the yourself, or if if you're using any agent or an accountant to deal with this case, HMRC will correspond with them and ask various questions, like they will discuss on penalties, they will discuss on tax calculations, they will discuss on interest, or any other queries or information they have. Once the HMRC is satisfied with all the correspondence and communication happened, then they will issue you a closure letter. So that's, I'll try to summarize, that's what the process is. So first, notice of intent, prepare within 90 days, file the disclosure, pay to HMRC, and then communicate, and then settle the case once their HMRC is happy. So that's what the process involved. Another one is penalties. Now we'll discuss about what are the penalties and how those penalties are applied. Actually, there's a very complex structure of penalties. Penalties are on behavior basis. So if it's unprompted and you are filing your case under reasonable care, then there's no penalty. If you're filing your case under carelessness, the penalty is between 0 and 30%. If you're filing your case under deliberate, that you have deliberately withhold the information, or you're not given the complete information, then it's 20 to 70%. And if your case is deliberate and concealed, that you try to conceal something, then it's 30% to 100%. Likewise, if you are prompted and you have taken a reasonable care, then no penalty. If you are careless, then 50 to 30%. And if you're deliberate, 35 to 70%. And under prompted, if you're deliberate and concealed, then 50 to 100%. These are the penalty which will be applied. But you can also apply for the reduction in penalties. So there's also a basis where HMRC allow you to reduce the penalty from, because that penalty we have seen is a range, minimum to higher, maximum. So you can apply to reduce the penalty from maximum coming towards the minimum. But before you apply the reduction is on the basis of the quality of your disclosure. So of what quality you have prepared the disclosure and filed to HMRC, that will help you to reduce the penalty. So quality of disclosure is very important. And broadly speaking, if you are telling them upfront, if you're telling them everything honestly, then you get up to 30% reduction penalty. If you're helping them with the case, if you're responding promptly, then you get 40% reduction. And if you're giving access to all the records they have requested, then they will give a reduction up to 30%. But again, there is a complex formula to calculate the reduction penalty. It's not that straightforward, but up to these percentages are used to in combination with other penalty structure to compute how much reduction you will get. But yes, in short, if you are preparing a quality disclosure and you are helping HMRC through telling information and helping them, helping them with the disclosure and giving a full record access, then yes, you will get a reduction in penalty, which will save you a lot of money in terms of penalties. And now we'll talk about suspension of penalties. That's also a very important area of penalties. So we have understood that we have to pay tax on rental income, we have to pay interest, and then we have to pay a penalty as well. But now comes the suspension. Suspension means that your penalties can be suspended, but again, that will only happen in certain cases, not in every case. It will happen in careless inaccuracies. So if you have filed return in the past which are inaccurate and you're putting your case forward under inaccuracies, under carelessness, then you can apply for the suspension of penalties. So that suspension means that your penalties will be suspended for time being. If you've paid, you get a refund back, but they will suspend on a condition. The conditions are, in next 2 years, your tax return should be filed accurately, without any errors, with the help of a professional advisor, so that there is no chance of any mistake. And if you file your returns correctly for next 2 years, then your penalty get waived off. So they will suspend for 2 years and they will assess your return in detail, that your returns, future 2-year returns are coming in a correct order, or accurate returns are being filed by you. And then once they're happy, then they will waive off the penalty. But if they find out that you have done any mistake again within that 2 years, in that case, this penalty will be reapplied, which they have suspended. You have to pay them this penalty back, plus they will apply another penalty on the year which they have find any mistake or any error or any inaccuracies they find. So in short, yes, you can apply for a penalty suspension with the condition attached to it. And obviously there are case laws, there are various case laws on suspension. So every case won't get a penalty suspension, but yes, there are chances in provision where if dealt properly, you can get a suspension of the penalties. And suspension is for 2 years, as I already discussed. So I hope you have understand that what let property disclosure is or what let property campaign is. So in short, if you have any rental property in the UK and you're getting rent in the past which you have not declared to HMRC, it's better to come voluntary under unprompted and bring your affairs up to date, so that you should not be hampered with the higher penalties. Sooner or later, HMRC gonna find out, because of the technology and the information HMRC is getting. Eventually people, HMRC will come to know, and HMRC will send a letter. At that time you have to declare it and the penalty will be harsh. I hope I have explained this very complex matter of let property disclosure. And if you have any other queries, you can look for my website, a link into the description, where I have written an article as well in detail on let property disclosure. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can get an information or notification of the new videos which I'm going to post into the future. Thank you.